real to me as they dragged those students out one by one, the bus boys. And the next thing I knew, I was the last person in there, and that's when it got real, and I got scared. But I knew God was with me, and I never will forget being dragged out of there. I also learned not to wear good clothes either. We got dragged out of there, and I never will forget a white woman sitting on the lunch counter, and she looked at me, looked down at me as they pulled me out, and she said very sarcastically, "Don't hurt the little." And I had never been called. And that's when I joined the movement.
That forced you into
that did it for me, and I knew that this was something I had to do. And from then on, every Saturday, every weekend, I lived off campus, by the way. If I lived on campus, I would not have been able to be involved because they had curfews. But I lived in approved housing, and so we had more freedom. But my experience ended, and I mean, we did Cross Keys, Crystals, all those places. Had bricks thrown at me, paddy wagons, the whole 9 yards.
This was a real violent kind of thing that you were coming to realize.
Absolutely. Yeah, I had a brick thrown and just missed my head, hit me in the back. I've had back problems ever since that brick. But my involvement ended sooner than I wanted it to. We were involved in a sleep-in, and that was at the Andrew Jackson and the Hermitage Hotel.
I remember the Andrew Jackson, and I know where the Hermitage is.
Yes, down where T-Pack is now, the Hermitage is still there. And the young men were at the Andrew Jackson, and the young women were at the Hermitage. And when I say sleep in, I mean we were in the lobby. You know, we would stay there all night, and again, the goal was
protesting the fact that they would not allow you to be to have a room there.
Right. And so it was an all-night event, and my mother called, and my landlady covered for us and said, "Well, the girls are out on a date." You know,
you were down
and I was at a sit-in, you know, sleep-in. And she called again, and after a while, my landlady had to say the girls are at a sleep-in. Well, that was a horrible thing to say, a sleep-in, bad enough a sit-in, but not a sleep-in. What does that mean? And anyway, long story short, my father got involved, the man who said, and it wasn't that my father didn't believe in the movement because he lived a life of being a political activist himself, but I was his little girl, you know, he didn't want me to get hurt. And he called the dean's office. And the next morning, I had to meet with Dean Payne. You remember Dean Payne? No one wanted to have to meet with Dean Payne. And I had a choice that either I was moved on campus and under curfew and get out of the movement, or I had to come home.
Okay, and of course, let's have this second commercial break, Professor McKissick, and then we'll give you an opportunity to talk about some of the notable personalities that you became involved with during this time. And of course, we'll be back with our audience following this very, very short commercial break. Civil rights movement in